All right, today we're diving into one of the weirdest, most fascinating documents ever to be declassified by the CIA. And no, we're not talking about spy gadgets or secret missions. We're talking about a journey into the nature of reality itself.
So take a look at this. This is the actual cover page of a report from 1983 written for the commander of the U.S. Army Intelligence and Security Command. This wasn't some dusty academic paper. This was the military trying to assess a system that claimed it could unlock the human mind. And the question they were trying to answer, well, it's a big one.
Yep, you heard that right. That was the mission. Not how to build a better tank, but whether human consciousness could literally go beyond the physical world as we know it. So, how in the world did they think they could do that?
To really get our heads around the gateway process, we first have to understand the mission behind this document. This wasn't about philosophy, it was a very practical assessment.
The man tasked with this was Lieutenant Colonel Wayne M. McDonald, and his job was basically to figure out if this gateway experience, which was a series of audio tapes and exercises, was the real deal. Could it actually teach people to change their own consciousness to do things like have out-of-body experiences?
What's really interesting here is that the report didn't just jump straight into the weird stuff. No, it built a scientific foundation first. McDonald started by looking at things science had already studied, like hypnosis, transcendental meditation, and biofeedback. This was all about establishing a baseline. What do we already know is possible when it comes to the human mind?
Okay, so with that baseline set, the report gets into the real meat of it, the technology. It lays out this very specific, almost mechanical method for altering your brain function, kind of like a brain hack.
The whole thing is built on a simple, observable fact about our brains. It's called the frequency following response. Basically, your brain has this natural tendency to sync up with rhythms it hears. You hear a steady beat and your brain waves start to match it. Well, the gateway process takes that natural tendency and really runs with it.
And here's the trick. It's a technology called hemisync. You put on headphones, right? A sound, say at 100 hertz, is played in your left ear. Then a slightly different one, maybe 104 hertz, is played in your right. Your brain can't quite make sense of the two separate sounds, so it creates a third, phantom beat, at the difference, which in this case is 4 hertz. And that just happens to be a brainwave frequency you see in deep meditation or right before sleep.
Now, here's the magic. This process forces both sides of your brain, the logical, analytical left side and the creative, intuitive right side, to start working together, to get in sync. The end result is this incredibly powerful and coherent state of mind.
And I love this analogy the report uses. It says your normal, everyday mind is like a lamp. Its light is spread out, it's kind of chaotic, not very focused. But the gateway mind, with both hemispheres working together, that's like a laser. All that same energy, but it's coherent, it's focused, and it becomes incredibly powerful.
And this is where things take a huge turn. Because once you have this laser-like consciousness, what do you point it at? Well, according to this document, you point it at reality itself. Because reality is not at all what we think it is.
This quote is pulled straight from the report, and you really have to let it sink in. It argues that the universe isn't made of solid stuff. It's made of energy fields, and the whole thing is basically one giant, complicated hologram.
So what does that even mean?
Well, think about a holographic picture. If you cut it in half, you don't get half the image. You get two smaller but complete versions of the whole picture. The report says the universe works just like that. Every tiny piece contains the information of the entire whole.
And you have to see these diagrams from the document itself. It pictures all of reality, past, present, and future existing all at once, inside this thing it calls a cosmic egg. And our mind? It's like a grid, or a reader, that tunes into that universal hologram to pull out the information we experience as our life.
This just flips everything upside down. The report's conclusion is that our brains don't make consciousness. They're more like a TV set. The broadcast, a universal consciousness, is already out there, everywhere. Our brain just tunes into the signal.
So if our brain is just the receiver and our consciousness is the signal, what's the ultimate goal here? What is the gateway process trying to achieve? This is where it all comes together.
The report speculates that beyond our hologram, beyond our universe, there's a source. It calls this source the absolute. Think of it as this infinite ocean of pure consciousness, and our entire reality is just one tiny ripple on its surface.
Now, to understand how to get there, we need to talk about something incredibly small. This number is known as Planck's distance. Physicists consider it the smallest possible unit of length. It is the absolute floor of our physical reality. You just can't get any smaller than that in our universe.
And here it is, the final step, the gateway. This diagram shows consciousness as a wave. The whole point of the hemisync technique is to raise the frequency of that wave so high that it actually starts to vibrate at a wavelength smaller than Planck's distance. When that happens, your consciousness literally clicks out of our dimension.
And that, according to an official U.S. Army intelligence report, is what an out-of-body experience is. It's not a dream, it's not a hallucination, it's your consciousness, that fundamental signal, temporarily leaving the receiver, your body, to experience what's outside our little holographic reality.
So let's just boil this all down. The ultimate mind-bending takeaway from this declassified document is this. You are not your body, you're not even your brain. You, your consciousness, are a piece of that timeless, infinite energy that creates everything.
Think about it. This whole thing started as a government analysis of some audio tapes, and it ended by completely redefining what it means to be human. It leaves us with this one massive question to just sit with. If we aren't our bodies, but we're patterns of eternal consciousness just experiencing a temporary hologram, then what in the world are we?